I think we're okay. All right, I think we're up and cooking. Somebody say hello to me, please. I'm gonna get my back channel up and cooking. Okay, thanks, Dave. All right. Hey guys, welcome to the Monday edition of the Mike Meyers live stream, Ask Mike Anything. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us who are studying for CompTIA certifications an opportunity to talk to the myth, the man himself. How do I put on a microphone and do it right? And so the goal of this AMA is Ask Mike Anything. Feel free to ask me any questions on any topic you want. Probably want to stay away from religion, politics, and sex, but other than that, I'm more than happy to talk about things. If you take a look over here on the chat window, this is how everything works. You just type in a question for me, and hello to me, please. Hello, Andre. Good to see you, man. So anyway, that's what the goal is here, is type in questions here in the chat window. And while we're at it, you see where it says top chat, hit that pull down, set it to live chat. That gets rid of the algorithm so we can just talk. I am really hopeful we got everything up and running here, which is again why I was a couple of minutes late, guys. I'm desperately trying to get everything to work. And I'm still working on it. Is this going to pop up? Yay! Okay, good. Got something working here. I'll take it. Now if I can only get back. Help! Help! Trying. Bear with me, guys. I'm just having fun. I know how to fix this, but I want to fix it right. There we go. All right. Yeah, sorry, my channel, my different input, what do you call it? Board isn't, turn my volume down. I can do that. There, Dave, I've turned down my volume. Does that help? All right. You guys will message me as needed, I'm sure. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this thing. Did we get rid of the echo? Okay, thanks. All right, cool. Let's get back to it. Yeah, sorry guys, I've got so many different devices running now to try to give you a better demo of this system build. Guys, I've got Steve Nicholson has got another hurricane coming, and unfortunately he's going to be delayed. He won't be with us this week, but he'll be with us next week, which is fine with me because we were in the middle of a system build we started last week, and I'd like to just go ahead and finish that system build if y'all don't mind, just so we can have some fun. We're not going to finish the system build today, but we're going to get to a big step today, and I want to share that with you. When we left off, if you guys were with me last week, we had started the initial build, and if we take a look at my system here. Hang on, bring this camera up a little bit. Zoom her out. Focus. I need a cameraman. Okay. So when we started on this system, what we were doing is we had got it to the point where, oop, not that one. There we go. So here's the system that we started building. We got the CPU in here and mounted, and we got this liquid cool system. You can see the back of that running. We got 64 gigs of DDR5 RAM punched in, and we got the big power supply. It's a little hard for you guys to see from that angle. So I've got this beastie of a 1,000 watt power supply from Corsair. So we got lots of toys around, and we started getting that all buckled up, and then Mike ran into problems, which I hope entertained some of you guys at least a little bit. And that was, I couldn't get the system to boot up. This is why we do an assembly like this. Before we put it in the case or anything, I always do this. I'm going to get the CPU, the RAM, and the power supply, get it buckled up, and make sure everything's at least running. There's no worse feeling than, you know, taking a new motherboard and all this stuff, buckling into a new system, doing good cable management, only to discover that you've got big problems somewhere on the system. So anyway, when we left off, that's exactly what took place. the thing wouldn't boot up, and it was driving me crazy why it wouldn't boot up. And so whenever that takes place, you go through the same process every time. You do first a mental, and then if needed, a physical reinstallation of everything you just did. So I went through the very careful unplug everything and plug it back in methodology, and as we were doing that, I noticed something. Oh, not that one. Why does it keep popping up? It was these two connectors right here, guys. If you see those, these are the big power connectors that are, there's three, well, I have four connectors. I got my P1 connector, my big P1, but then I have three other connectors that provide power to the motherboard. And one of them was obviously not plugged in all the way. That was it. So I went ahead and plugged it back in, and it instantly booted up, no problems whatsoever. I've got a nice post coming up, and oh, and by the way, I got it all to boot up, and I thought I'd go ahead and take a moment, and I installed two M.2 drives into this system. So if I've got everything right, we should have a nice boot up. And welcome to the first time this thing's ever been booted up. Okay, that's not really true, but I did this a couple more times to make sure everything worked. But anyways, you take a look. So first of all, you'll see, I don't have any mouse, so you guys are going to have to look closely there. It's in the center. I keep pointing with my finger. That's not going to do you guys any good. You'll see that there is two SSD, 2 terabyte drives. You'll see the Samsung SSD 980 Pro 2 terabyte. You see that twice? That's because two of them have been installed. What's interesting, you'll see that, look at the numbering. It's M.2, that's their M.2 drives, but it's 2 and 3. This could be a problem. There are 3 M.2 connectors on this motherboard, and I have 2 drives. What I'm concerned about is that I might have a boot order issue, and that it won't let me boot off of, unless there's a drive in that M.2.1 position first. I didn't see any documentation of that in the motherboard, and a lot of motherboards are pretty forgiving about where you plug in your mass storage, but what's important is A, they'll see it, which we just saw that, so that's good, and then B, we should be able to go into the UEFI, the system setup, and be able to make at least some basic changes. Guys, this is unrehearsed, so if this doesn't work, whoops, not that one. So I've got a separate keyboard here. You can see at the bottom I've got some CPU cooler issue. I'm ignoring that for right now. It's not a concern yet. And we're going to reboot this thing. Not reboot, we're just booting into the CMOS. Alright, so this is a pretty standard ASUS system setup. I know I still say the word CMOS, I'm old, bear with me. And so I'm going to take a look here, and in particular I'm going to verify, it says it sees the drives, but I should be able to define a boot order. So I'm gambling it's in here. I doubt it's CSM. Boot configuration? So fast boot, I'm going to turn off fast boot for now because I like to watch the errors as they pop up. I'm going to disable the pretty little AMI thing because I want to see it. And what's bothering me right now, folks, is I am not seeing the two M.2 drives, which is what I was hoping would be in here. So we're going to keep looking around here a little bit. This thing does not like to use mice very much. So it's so sensitive. There it goes. All right. So it doesn't show the boot option priorities. That bugs me. Am I looking in the wrong spot? That's always a possibility. This is going to be temperature monitors. Yeah, I don't want to worry about that yet. Under advanced. Platform is saying, looking for, nope, not going to mess with any of that anyway. And this is pretty common, folks, with a new system like this. A lot of times I don't know exactly what to do. Now, here it does see the 2 drives, so that's making me happy, but am I going to be able to boot to them? Alright, so it looks like I'm not giving it something that it needs. So my quick guess about the problem here is that those temperature things are bothering it. So I'm going to, just give me a second, I'm going to go into the temperature monitors and all that, and I'm going to shut some stuff off here a little bit. And it's not going to be the temperature monitor, it's going to be the fan speed, I think is the... Here, I'll let you guys watch. Why do I keep doing that? There we go. All right. Fan speed monitor, that's probably the problem child. So for the moment, I'm just going to go ahead and ignore these. We'll see if that gets it. Let's do a quick reboot. And we'll see what happens during that boot process. The only thing I'm really interested in right now is to make sure that those drives are visible, and to, if I can get rid of that one error that keeps popping, that's going to make me happy. So we got to just give the system a moment to boot up, because it will take its time. Alright, so you guys didn't see it, but I did. It booted up without errors. So let's go back in. I'm just going to keep doing that because I like doing it too much. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to go back into boot. I'm hoping that turning off that error, no, same issue. I should not need that. I don't. The thing about this though is I'm not going to use this as an excuse to not go ahead and buckle the system up. So we're actually pretty close to buckling the system up. But if you take a look at this behemoth, I mean, look at all of these cables I got to deal with. I mean, this thing's a mess. So I've got, this is coming from the fan. This fan's going to be mounted at the top of the case. All right, I've got bazillions of output cables. Most of those are just for the external I/O shield area, so I'll just deal with those individually. But it's these little wires that just drive me bonkers. Well, that's the USB. I don't have to worry about that one. Like all these guys here. These are the ones that are coming mainly off the fan. I only have 2 of them plugged in. I only have 1 plugged in, there's 2 sitting here. And I'm going to have to be dealing with all these wires. Wires are a pain in the rear end, to say the least. So let me show you a big part of why we do what we do when it comes to case buying is, does the case have what I need it to have to do whatever I happen to want to do? In this particular case, I've got a gaming system with a really, what's going to have a very, very powerful graphics card in it. So it was all about airflow for me. So I don't know how well this is going to work, but we're going to try bringing the case on board. See if I can do this without causing damage to life or limb. Taking off some of the glass pieces because there's no reason to show these to you. Alright, so this is a higher end Lee & Lee all aluminum case. I've taken off the glass in the front. There was a piece on the top which I've taken off. I've taken off the big side glass panel. And it gives you guys a pretty good idea of what a higher to medium range case is going to look like these days. The most important thing for me is that it's always going to be broken into 2 separate spaces. So you'll see I got the where I'm going to put the motherboard and everything up here, but the power supply is and always should be, in my opinion, a separate channel. The reason for that is that it allows really good ventilation to move through. You're not making that poor CPU cooling system do all the work. What I'll eventually do is I will have the water-cooled system plugged into the top, and I'm going to go ahead and do this offline. And so come back Wednesday to see the results of that. We'll have lots of nice pictures to show you what I did. It's boring to watch people try to thread wires through stuff. But speaking of threading wires, that's the other reason I like these Lee & Lee systems so much, is that it's just completely covered. You see all these? those are all just spots for me to run cables. So I'm going to mount the motherboard, and I'm going to very carefully, on a case-by-case basis, look at every cable that I've got, and I'm going to very selectively mount it so you only see just the connector coming out and then plug it into the motherboard. And if I do it right, it's going to look really good, number one, and number two, it's going to give me proper airflow, which is a big concern, especially with this monster, and I mean monster of a video card in there. Yeah, I still haven't started it up yet, I'm afraid. But we're going to go ahead. I'm going to get everything buckled in. I'm going to get my cable management done, but I'm not going to put in the graphics card. We're going to do that live day after tomorrow. I know, crazy me. But it should be interesting to watch. And if all the power goes out, then you'll know that I didn't give it enough juice. I'm keeping this system on a separate circuit, so don't panic if anything blows up. You'll get to watch the smoke, because all the cameras are separate from that. So anyway, that's kind of the plan, just to let you guys know where we're at here. I'm pretty comfortable about this system so far, and what a good lesson to remember that sometimes you just got to make sure everything's plugged in good and tight. And that was all the problem we had last time, and now it's running like a top. So stay tuned, come back Wednesday after I'll have the motherboard mounted, and hopefully I'll have most of the cable management done. We'll go ahead and boot the system, and then we're going to pull out the Behemoth, plug it in, and hope for the best. I don't think we're going to have too much problem one way or the other. Honestly, the only issue I'm concerned about with the new graphics card is, can I show you the output? Because, you know, I've got a new 5K monitor, but I don't think I can output a live stream to you guys at that one. So hopefully we'll just be able to knock the resolution down on the video card to some default to at least get things started. So fingers crossed, and stay tuned for next Wednesday when we actually get the board running. It just bugs me why I don't have an obvious place. Yes, I'm looking in that boot configuration stuff because I know I'm missing something. Oh well, let's go ahead and shut that off. And so I'm pretty excited about that. I'm just rebooting the test system one more time. Let's take a little quick peek at it together. Come on, puppy. This thing has a very slow boot. I turned off fast boot and now I'm paying for it. No errors. So it keeps going back into the UEFI. I'm not against that, I'm just not sure why it's doing that. I'm just running through a couple of these extra screens, making sure I'm not missing something. So what is interesting on this particular motherboard is something I haven't seen before. Let me see if I can show this to you guys. Okay, so if you take a look, here it has the M.2 configuration screens, which I was hoping might have had something to do with it. But notice it's only one, M.2.3, but look at the configuration. Auto or SATA or PCIe. This is interesting, folks, because for years I've always told people that some motherboards do SATA and some boards do PCIe. This one does both, so good on him. They call it SATA, it's NVMe. That's all that means there. I don't even know what this is. Yeah, we're going to ignore that for right now. Okay, cool. Well, that's so interesting. Only the M.2 does that. Why doesn't... So only that one is that flexible? All the others I got to be more careful about, I guess. All right, whatever. All right, so let's go ahead and check for questions. Let's scroll up to the top, see what you guys have been saying. Will Shaw, good to see you, man. Folksky, Edgar Salinas. I thought about stealing his thunder today, but I refrained. Thank you, Edgar. I had forgotten about the time change. I forgot about the time change too. I literally forgot about it, and thank goodness all of my clocks reset themselves, because I guess I'd still be in bed or something, I don't know. Cooley, good to see you're doing well there. Andre, I've been playing Fortnite. I've never gotten into... What was the predecessor to Fortnite? Player Unknown Battlegrounds or whatever? Kind of the same motif. Not quite as wacky. I was not very good at that one either. Alright guys, right now I'm just running through, seeing if anybody has any questions, and saying hello to Ali, TD, good to see you again, man. Daniel Thibodeau, just love saying the name. Heavy D. Ben Bork. Ben, you're new, right? Tolowit is here. Good, good, good. Lake C. Abu Bakar. I need to tell me how to pronounce your name better, man. I was just terrible at that. Scroll along. Scott S. Live from Mike's Echo Cave. Scott Struberg? Narvik, hello. The sound does echo. Okay, we got that fixed. Mr. G. Marty Vamp, there's a name. Dank Dude Dan. What is the outro song in your old videos? My class was wondering what it was. We picked that up off of some free royalty site. I don't even remember what it is. Andre, you're not a big fan of the RGB? I gotta tell you, I don't know if I'm a big fan, but I've never actually really taken the time to properly configure RGB. I mean, really taking it, using the macros that are built in with whatever's brand name of RGB you're using. I've never really worked with the connectivity of it. How well does everything work together? And the other problem is with RGB, I've never even done any research, so I'm really going cold here. It's a risk, but I don't know how big of a risk it is. It seems like everything plugs into this one controller. I can support 6 drives, 6 fans, thank goodness, that's exactly what I have. Is there an external case fan? No, just those. Well, that was lucky. I literally bought this Corsair controller and it has 6 connectors. I have 6 fans, so knock on wood, good for me that that one happened out. I did go through the case already and looked at all of the connectors. So it's got 4 3.5-inch bays for hot swapping SATA. I didn't intend to put any SATA drives in here, but they're so cheap. I may, just as an added bonus, run over to Micro Center and pick up 4 SATA drives and go ahead and plug those in. I didn't see any RAID on this thing. I don't know. I'll find it somewhere. It's in there. Surely it has RAID. Here, somebody do me a favor. Does the Asus Maximus Z790 Hero, Republic of Gamers C790Z, Z790 Hero, does that do RAID? Here, let me see if I can look it up really quick. I'm not going to futz around here too much. Appendix. Scuzzy. Oh, no, it's the postcodes. RAID configuration. This comes with the Intel Rapid Storage technology and 0, RAID, let's try again, 0, 1, 5, and 10. So I'm not a big fan of RAID 5 anymore, but I'll go ahead and use it. I like RAID 6. I like being able to lose 2 drives, but this is just for pure fun. So I'll go ahead and, or maybe we could do that next week after we see the system plug, or this week, Wednesday. Ooh, that's a lot of work. And we'll go ahead and see if we can do some RAID as well. That means I have to go get 4 hard drives, which is not the easiest thing for me to do these days, to say the least. All right, scrolling through, let's find some more questions. Daniel Thibodeau, why did you go with the i5 over an i7 or i9? Because the 4090 I have is going to handle really all the gaming firepower. I just need one really fast thread running on the system. Maybe a couple of threads. I don't think I have much control on that. So the i5, I mean, that's still got like 20 cores in it. The 13th generation, I think it's got like 20 cores, which is going to be plenty. So in terms of firepower, I've got more than enough. The only other thing I probably am ever going to do with this is do like Blender for some graphics work. And again, I've been told the 4090 will literally take all that work on it in terms of, you know, resing everything out. So that's why I went with an i5, because that's all I need in this particular situation. Cooley McCoolson, yeah, you got to be pretty much figured out there. It's mainly a gaming system and then some basic graphics work. Scott S., I'm curious to see if the M.2 slot thing works. I just installed M.2 from a previous system in a computer last night, and it wouldn't show up to load Windows on it. Well, I guess, Scott, I wish that I could have done today. Grabbed a bootable Windows thumb drive. I got one upstairs, but we'll do that. We'll do that next week too, I think. Yeah, I'm very curious about that too. Is the boot order going to work? The Xerxes78, I am horrible at cord management. Me too, man. So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to have all the cables coming in nicely to the motherboard, but that second layer underneath it is going to be a rat's nest. Daniel Grace, is secure boot on? Not right now. I guess I'm going to have to light that up for a Windows boot, aren't I? Yeah, I will remember to do that. Will Shaw, my case is better. It looks like a board cube. Cost me $800. Yeah, mine costs less than half that. Xerxes, try crypto mining. Yeah, I think people have finally learned that GPUs are not the best way to do mining. In fact, there's no good way to do mining anymore. Daniel, tips on writing a resume? Any learning resources on how to write a good resume? Yeah, Daniel, first off, please check back issues here in the Total Seminars channel. Usually I'm with my friend Jessica Dickerson, and Jessica is a great source. She's been in management for a long time and really understands what a good resume looks like. The other place you might want to take a look is on the Cyber Now Labs channel. And my good friend Hassan, I believe, has a recorded where people are submitting resumes and he's kind of going through them. But please check those out first and foremost, Daniel, and I think you'll find really great information there. Andre, when will they start building motherboards with the connectors on the back? Isn't that what the I/O shield's for, dude? You could build a system with practically no visible spaghetti. Well, wait till you see what I'm done with this, Andre. I think you're going to be impressed. It'll be pretty tight. You're going to switch an old HDD for a 7200 RPM HDD. Daniel, be ready to be unimpressed with the results. I mean, the only thing I would look at is they still make some nice hybrid drives where it's an SSD and rotational media drive all in one. They're something to look at. Oh goodness, tons of questions. See, the problem, guys, I'm scrolling through this and then I get to the bottom and then sometimes it's like adds a bunch more, which is what just happened. Gabriel Bartlett, just passed your A+. Hey, well done, Gabriel. Big round of applause to you. Marty Vamp. What are your thoughts on GED and getting certs from CompTIA to start at a help desk? Well, Edgar, that's a great way for most people to start. In today's society, you absolutely have to finish your high school. So first and foremost, more than anything else, get that GED. That's incredibly important and good for you to do that. Secondly, little certs always help. You remember, the only thing A cert is never going to give you a job. A cert is, the only thing certification is going to do, it's going to put your name at the top of a stack so that it's got a better chance of being looked at. Good technical interviews, experience. People are like, well, I don't have any experience. Well, go get some. Start volunteering. Volunteer at your local charities. They're always looking for a tech to help out here and there. And, you know, be a little bit fearless at first. Especially when you're new, just make a point to say, hey man, I'm new and I'm not going to be held legally responsible for anything that I might break, but I don't think I'm going to break anything. However, be aware, I've warned you. That's how I started. Gabriel Bart, oh yeah, there's one, gotcha. Gabriel, what's your opinion on AMD's new GPUs? Good, I like them. The problem for me is that if I wait for the best GPU, I'll never buy one because there's always another one coming out. Oh, my nose. So that's why I went ahead and got the 4090 when I did. I just literally, if you were connected on LinkedIn, there's a picture of me. Sometimes you just have to say, I will, no compromises. So AMD makes good cards. I have no problem with them. I use quite a few AMD cards. Most of the time, when I'm not looking for raw performance, I'll probably use an AMD card. I rarely use the onboard video unless I know for a fact that that particular system is not going to be working very hard. If you're using Office, and if you're doing general web browsing, fine. Then the onboard video is usually perfectly fine. But it seems like everybody does a little more than that. So I found even a lower end video card will make a big difference on any system. And you don't have to spend outrageous money for 4090s. I mean, that was a little bit crazy, but I was doing that for fun. You can get decent lower end video cards that they'll be great. You won't notice any problems, including more basic gaming, you know, for $200 to $300. You guys are talking about lights. Ollie, when I telnet into my router modem and type SH, it gets me into a shell mode, and the shell has Linux commands. Okay, a lot of them do that. Can I dump the router's firmware with the commands the shell offers, as I don't see any option in the router's interface? Yeah, so most of the time if you can punch into a router, if it has a terminal connection, or if it has telnet open, which is very rare anymore today, you're going to have a very limited command set. It's not going to be a full-blown Linux. And so the only commands that are in there. If you have a thumb drive or something, you can try installing more commands. I would recommend against that. Most of the time what I would do, if you're just looking to dump the router's firmware, when you say dump, I assume you want a bit-by-bit copy of the firmware. In that case, most of the time, you're going to see an option in there which says back up the system. In fact, let me see if I can I do it on this one? Here, let's take a look what I got. So on this particular system here, this is the system that I'm still building. So it's got a flash utility. Is there anything more in there than that? So basically, it's looking for a flash for me to update. And given how old this version is, look at that. I probably ought to look at a update on that. But image rollback, that might be convenient. So if I put a firmware update's got problems, I could do that. Secure erase, SP. So I'll probably have to install this ASUS service and app after I get the OS up and cooking, and then I'll probably have an option in there for me to back up and flash my memory. I don't know, I'm going to have to look. I'm just looking to see if there might be an obvious backup option in here. I don't see. Oop, there's the RAID. We'll come back to that later. Not going to be under Extreme Tweaker. Maybe under security? That's just password stuff. All right, we'll dig it up. But there will be some way to pull that off, so it'll be interesting. All right. Wrong mouse. Too many mice. Ben Bork. Yeah, for some, my M.2 also didn't show up in system setup. Now, mine finally did show up, Ben, but I'm going to have to get a Windows install media to see if it's actually going to talk to it. And I need to be mentally prepared if necessary. I'm going to have to yank one of those M.2s and put it in the M.2.1. We'll see. I don't know yet. Hey, the nice part is I'm not going to break anything by trying, and I'm not in a rush to build the system, so we'll try both. Xerxix. My new laptop is Wi-Fi 6E. Need to check the router to see if it's 6 or 6E. Yeah. Xerxix, I gotta be honest with you. When you get a router, like especially from your ISP, like AT&T or Infinity or one of those guys, they generally give you a pretty cutting edge router with a wireless built into it. But the problem is we tend to ignore those systems, and they can sit there for 2 or 3 years and not get updated. So I almost always will plug my own router behind a company, behind the ISP's router. So I got an AT&T device that has fiber running into the back of the AT&T device. Then it has a Cat 6A running on gigabit into a 16-port switch. And then the switch is also gigabit, and it passes out some hardwired connections, including the one I'm using to actually run this main computer, not the test computer. The Wi-Fi that comes from the ISP has wireless, which I tend to ignore it. And I have a nice high-end Wi-Fi 6E home router with WAP and all that built in that I bought separately. And that's my primary interconnectivity. I'm running a mesh network in here, so I need good internet connectivity. I need good connectivity to the mesh network, and I rarely get that with a router that comes directly from the ISP. The downside to this, if you got to think about this, is I could be spraying a lot of wireless networks out there without thinking about it. So you have to be careful about your wireless network management, number one. Number two, a lot of times, especially like if you're with Infinity, although I think it's also true for AT&T, you cannot turn off the wireless. Can't turn it off. That's because AT&T wants to take control of it if they need to. That's my opinion. But I'll always use a second router. And the reason I like that second router is because if something new comes along, I can just buy it, unplug the old router, use it for something else, then plug the new router in with whatever whirly-birdy-gurdy thing I want, and I have complete control over that router, including turning off the wireless if I want to. Dave Rush believes that RGB LEDs have made the world a tackier place. Yeah, and I'm going full tacky, baby. Will Shaw, you must like Star Trek. That's all I got to say there, man. Daniel Thibodeau. Which mirroring cloning free software should I use to copy an old HDD to a new HDD? I want to make sure the OS copy is over. Geez, I'd use Norton's Ghost, would probably be my go-to, mainly because Dave Rush is really good at Ghost and doing stuff like that. Daniel, you think you're going to take an old hard drive, all right, and plug it into a new system, and then that way you don't have to reinstall the operating system and all that stuff? It doesn't work that way. Especially if you're doing this with Windows. In a Windows environment, when you unplug that drive and you plug it into a new system, it's not going to like it at all. You're going to get unrecognized drives, and it will probably compel you to wipe the drive once it's installed. So that's just not a realistic thing. With a Linux system, it's a lot easier. You can do that. But for most people, Daniel, what they'll do is, unless the hard drive's actually popping errors, you just plug another hard drive in after it. So you have 2 hard drives. And then you move your C:\users folder or whatever into that new drive. And then that's going to start eating up all your space. If you're like me, everything goes to the desktop, downloads and documents. Yeah, I'm the triple D. Desktop, downloads, and documents is where all my stuff goes. Then having that drive like that tends to work out real well. You can also like move the swap file from your old drive to your new drive. That tends to open up a lot of space. You can change your hibernate file position from your C drive to your D drive, and that'll make even more space on the C drive. You can also span the drives, but I don't recommend that. It's like RAID 0 without at least the speed of RAID. So spanning's not a good idea. Just give yourself 2 drive letters. So the other thing, Daniel's talking about saving the drive for a RAID build. The only thing I will tell you about a RAID build is that if you're going to use a classic RAID, you know, like RAID 1 through 6, you really want these drives to be the same size. If you have 3 1 terabyte drives, that's great. But if you have 3 1 terabytes and then 1/2 terabyte, if you're using traditional RAID 5, it's going to waste half of the drive on each one of the 1 terabytes. So you might want to keep stuff like that in mind as you're doing that. Try to get the same drives. If you're using proprietary solutions, like the RAID, the software RAID that comes with Windows, which eludes me for the moment what that is called, or if you're using you know, third-party RAID utility tools, like you get a RAID box or something like that, in that case, having different sized drives becomes much less of an issue because they're using proprietary RAIDs that do magic. They don't have to tell you how it works because they're proprietary. Edgar Salinas, I'm trying to get my friend into IT, trying to get advice for him. Well, Edgar, first of all, that's great, and what a good friend to do that. But secondly, tell your friend to jump on, man, where he's always welcome here. He's tight on money, and his wife is having bad health issues. I'm very sorry to hear that. That's always tough. For employers, is high school diploma greater than a GED? I don't think so. It always seems to be high school or GED equivalent. High school diploma or equivalent, which is a GED. So I've not seen that myself. Scott S. I've been volunteering at a computer refurbishing oh, see, that's great. You're going to learn a lot there, Scott. That's absolutely fantastic. Good on you. RJ. Hello, Mike. Can I build a Mac and have Linux and Windows 10 and 11 as the guest operating systems? Well, when you mean guest, are you talking about you're going to be using a hypervisor? Like, what do Macs even use these days? Is Parallels still being used? That shows you how often I do VMs on a Mac. VirtualBox, I'm pretty sure runs on Macs. I'm not sure. Anyway, the bottom line is that, can I build a Mac? No, but you can buy a Mac and have Linux and Windows 10 and 11 as the guest operating system. Sure. So you install with Mac, install whatever hypervisor Apple provides these days, and then you can make individual Linux, Windows 10, and Windows 11 VMs in there, and that'll work fine. I'm glad to hear you not say the other. And the other is, can I build a PC and put a Mac VM on there? Officially, no. And I even think it's illegal. However, if you're really in a panic, you can go up there and type in Mac VM download, and there's some questionable ones. Do this at your own risk, people. I don't do it because it's fearful what people can put on a VM that you're downloading and installing on your system. Macs do not allow Macintosh operating systems to run on anything but Macs, even in a VM. So if you're doing this from a Windows standpoint, you're not going to be able to run the Mac. From the Mac side, like you're describing, go for it. It'll work fine. Looking for questions. Who did I miss? Oh, that was RJ's question, was that? The Zerg 678. I have a TP-Link router, okay, and I don't use Cox Cable's equipment. Ah, okay, well that's good too. I don't have the ability to buy a router easily that will work with AT&T. But yeah, traditionally if I'm using a DOSIS, a cable modem type connection, you can buy a router And in that case, you're usually saving yourself a $5 a month rental charge or something like that. Oh well, Star Trek is life. And I do not live in my parents' basement. I understand. Abakar, Mike, does all wireless AAP work like a hub? I almost wish we'd stop using the word hub, but in this case it's more like a hub than a switch, in that there's no way to separate signals. So yeah, they work like a wireless hub, in that you have lots and lots of clients who are all accessing a single system. That's why it's so popular today, especially with 802.11ax and even more so with 802.11ac, is where you're getting these 2x2 or 3x3 or 4x4 where they have lots of antennas. The reason they're doing that, folks, is that it spreads the workload across multiple radios and makes throughput faster. And that's one of the reasons. If you see any of my WAPs, I don't have any convenient, of course. Wait, I might have one. I might have one. So, speaking of TP-Link, I believe this one's AC, I don't remember. So this one is, it's 3x3. Don't let the 4 set, one of these is just for 2.4 gigahertz, send and receive. The other 3 here are 5 gigahertz antennas. It doesn't say anything back here, of course. But these 3 sets of 5 gigahertz antennas can actually work together to increase throughput dramatically, either by setting throughput up to an individual system that needs a lot of bandwidth, or more commonly by splitting that bandwidth up. So 2 or 3 systems are on one pair, another 2 or 3 systems are on another pair. And this is all handled automatically by the 802.11 specification. There's little to nothing that you want to do in terms of configuration on these WAPs to take advantage of that. Too many mice. So Andre's going to get himself an Ubiquiti AT Pro connected to properly, and edge router, and turn off Wi-Fi on the ISP. Sure, that's what I do. I actually keep the Wi-Fi on. I mean, not the Wi-Fi. There's a Wi-Fi SSID you simply can't turn off, but you can turn off all the other ones. But I leave one on because by coincidence that ISP router is close to my garage, and I use my garage door opener. Hey. David Zientra, you can create a Mac with a Hackintosh, but it's more trouble than it's worth. David, that's been my personal experience as well. I've tried that a couple of times, and I just found it to be a lot of trouble. Dang, I just bought a used Mac Mini. Not bad. Scott S., does Boot Camp work well on the Mac? Scott, I am not a Mac person, so let's see if somebody else can answer that for you. Ali, Mike, I have a serious wireless lag problem with my router. Can't send you an email explaining the issue in detail. I really want your help. Well, you're going to have to explain it to me if you want my help. But I got to tell you, Ali, there are a lot of very good technicians who are literally online right now in this group, okay? And if you take a look, Ali, we sent you an invite to our Discord channel. Ali, please join that Discord channel. It's a pretty happy, busy Discord channel these days, and I would love to see you on there. If I'm not on, there's plenty of other folks around there who can help you out, and if you want real-time help, that's probably your best option. Although, of course, you're always welcome to email me directly if you want. I'm michaelm@totalsim.com or michaelm@nationalcyber.com. That's all listed right there on the chat channel. Oof. Yeah, and while we're talking about it, go ahead and you should consider joining, at least follow me on LinkedIn, or connect with me directly. Either one's fine, makes no difference to me. Yeah, Ali, you saw Andre. Andre's a good guy there who will also help you out. What is on my desk? Is that a power supply tester? It is. I do I don't believe that there's much hardware that's necessary. Probably for me, it is my iFixit toolkit, which is right here. And honestly, I use that mainly for smart devices more than anything else. But I do keep one of these around. It just allows me to test power. That was one of the first things I did when I was having trouble last week, is I'm always wary of what I call OOV. OOV. It means out of box failure. OOV. Because that's how bad it hurts when you get something, you're all excited about a new power supply or whatever it might be, and the darn thing doesn't start up because it came out of the factory bad. This is rare, but it does happen. So I like to be able to test my power supplies, and that's what I did with this. And I knew the power supply was working good, and then I plugged everything back in, and hey, it just started working. Yep. Ben Bork. Okay, you got it. Good, good, good. All right. So this particular power supply tester is a little old. It's got a 24-pin P1, which is really important. But other than that, it just has a 8 and a 3-pin PCIe connector. Also has an old Molex connector if you need that too. They have another one that I have one laying around here somewhere. It's longer, and it includes a voltmeter. Because for me, when I'm testing a power supply, almost any power supply will boot up. But it's how is it booting up? And without a voltmeter to at least see where my voltages are, I can't do anything. Because you'll sit there and say, oh, well, it's got a 12-volt rail and a 3.3-volt rail, right? And those are the only two voltages that come out of a power supply. Everything else is handled by chips on the motherboard itself for bringing power down from that. Anyway, the challenge we run into, I'm sorry, 5-volt, plus 5-volt, forgot about that one. The challenge we run into is that, let's say you have a 12-volt output, something like this just has an idiot light on it, and I don't know how low the voltage can go to light up this idiot light. With a built-in voltmeter, you have the ability to go, this 12-volt output is doing 11.5, which is fine. Most 12-volt, you test a power supply by looking at the 12 volts, more than anything else. Anytime it starts to getting around 11 volts, then it's probably time to change that power supply. And that's why some of those power testers that have the built-in voltmeter are a little bit nicer. I was in a hurry to fix this thing over the weekend, so I grabbed what I grabbed, so that's what I got. So Xerxic, that answers your question, man. Get yourself one of these testers. They're inexpensive. So I find water cooling to be pretty trivial these days. I like water cooling because it's a more efficient cooling, and it's a much quieter cooling than a fan. And it physically takes up less space that I'm worried about. A lot of these big things have these big old fins and all this that come off the motherboard. I don't like that. Yeah, I'll put up with the radiators, but they're all screwed into the top. Leakages are just a thing of the past. It never really happens anymore with these factory sealed systems. You go back 10 or 15 years ago when I was building my own water coolers, yeah, we had some leakages here and there. I never turned anything into a ashtray, thank goodness. But I tend to go to liquid cooling pretty much automatically. These built-in systems. Make sure you guys can see this. So, may have to do a little adjusting here, sorry about that. So I've got, this is the CPU lid itself, all right, and this has got all the juice coming in. This one's much hotter than the other one, so this is the output that goes out hot, and input in here, which is coming out colder. And I've just got this big old radiator, and eventually I'll have these fans up and cooking. It's probably not a good idea for me to leave it running too long like this, because without the fans and the air ventilation, the water inside that sealed system will get too hot over time, and then I'll have a problem. But for right now, it's just fine. All right, so let's get back to some questions here. How are we doing on time? Oh goodness, it's almost 3 o'clock already. Yeah, the other nice part about having the CPU fans up at the top as opposed to sitting on top of the CPU, I used to wear all these ties and all my ties were frayed at the tip. I can't tell you how many times I stuck a tie into a... Oops. All right, let's go ahead and have, let's do a quick competition. Anybody up for a little quick competition? So I'm about to have a competition that is going to give away 90-day free access to practice questions. I need some people to type yes into the chat window right now because I don't see a whole lot of new faces today. So I need somebody to say, yeah, let's have a competition. Blue Lantern, hey, hello, how's it going? No, suddenly I see a lot of new names. Yes into the chat window. Vegas Brent, you're hilarious. Xerxix Pen Test Plus. You want me to do? I can do a Pen Test Plus question. Oh, the music after the video, they made me take that out. They said it took up too much time in the video, that I was wasting time with intro and outro music. All right, let's do a competition. All right, guys, here's how this competition is going to work. I'm going to make some statement or ask a question, okay? And you have to answer the question. Answer the question simply by typing it into the chat window. They are a waste of time. I don't know what that means. You're not saying my competitions are a waste of time, are you? I'm hurt. I'm in pain. All right, let's do this real quick. Okay, wait, I didn't think that's what you meant, man. Let's go ahead, let's do a quick competition, all right? Let's do something we talked about today that might be fun. All right, you guys ready? This is one you just either going to know it or not know it. What brand of toolkit does Mike Meyers love? That's it. What brand of toolkit does Mike Meyers love? And no, I'm not going to accidentally flash it on the screen and give it away for you guys. You have to type it in. All right. So, okay, guys, type it in. Oh, gosh, everybody got it. Okay, God, that was way too easy. Sorry. You guys are too smart. It's iFixit. I love my little iFixit toolkit. This is like the second to cheapest toolkit they sell too. The reason I got this one is, look, the main reason you buy an iFixit toolkit, more than any, you know what, here, let's take advantage of a second camera here. There we go. All right, so the main advantage to an iFixit toolkit for me is the super duper screwdriver set that comes with it. It's like every type of connection you could ever think about, and especially if you do a lot of work on laptops and with smart devices like I do, these things are just a turn-to first line of defense. Equally important are all of the extra little pieces. So I've got a suction cup for pulling off screens. I've got 18 different kinds of spudgers on there to pry things apart. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool, and I lean on that toolkit heavily to do the stuff that I need to do. All right, so we have to pick a winner, huh? I think we had one. Too many mice. RJ. Did RJ pass? He did not. All right, so it looks like our winner today is RJ. RJ, congratulations. You've won 90-day free access to the practice questions of your choice on the Total Tester. Total Tester is our practice questions, that's what we call them. Now, in order to get your prize, RJ, you're going to have to send an email to Dave Rush. All the information I'm about to say is showing up on the live chat window. You're going to might have to scroll to find it, but Dave will post it. So RJ, what you got to do is you got to send an email to Dave Rush. That's daver@totalsem.com. And in that email, I need to say what your YouTube name is, RJ, what your email address is. I know you're sending an email, but put the email in the body anyway. And then third, let us know what you want. So you might want to head over to www.totalsem.com. We have quite a few test banks, even the stuff that we don't teach about. We have a deal through McGraw-Hill that we provide access to test banks for all kinds of stuff. So RJ, please check that out. Get in contact with Dave Rush, and all that stuff is yours. And congratulations to you for winning. It is after 3, so I think we're going to have to wrap it up. All right. I think that's it for the day. Guys, thank you so much. Remember, when we get back, next week's going to be, well, Wednesday, I'm going to have this system in a case, and I'll have lots of pictures to show you what we did, so you can enjoy that. I'm actually going to pick it all up from here because this is not enough space for me to work. I'm going to get on my big island in my kitchen with the big white where I can see everything. I'm going to get this all buckled down. I'm going to get this booted up. And once I've got that up and cooking, we'll come back next week and I will redisplay the system to you in its hopefully beautiful form. And if we're very, very lucky on Wednesday, I will snap in the new graphics card and we'll watch it boot. And hope we don't make smoke, because I am a little nervous about that. So that's all I got for today then. Oh, K-Week, the promo code for today. Sorry. Oh, Dave, what's the promo code? He had it there. Dave, can I get you to repost that one more time for Ali? The code for the 50% off, please. Yeah, for you guys who don't know, just because you're nice enough to show up here, we give you a 50% off combos of the ebook and the practice, the Total Tester practice questions for a broad cross-section of different products. If we have an ebook for it, and if we have the practice questions, you put them together. Head over to our website, www.totalsem.com. Head over to the merchant area. Now, let's say you're interested in Network Plus. So you grab the Network Plus ebook, not the paper books, the ebooks, and then grab the Network Plus Total Tester. And you will, and then you type into the discount area at checkout. Type in Rankin, R-A-N-K-I-N. I'm just reading this from the chat window, Ali, and you get 50% off. We're already about the cheapest out there. It is an absolutely amazing deal. So congratulations to you, man. All right, guys, I think that finally does it for me. I am out of here. I'll see you on Wednesday. Fingers crossed so we have a buckled up system. And until then, this is your little Uncle Mikey saying bye-bye. Bye, kids. Got to go like this.